Afternoon, everybody. As Ivy mentioned, I am currently serving as the chair of the United Way Next board. And I love United Way Next for many, many reasons. I spent the lion's share of my career working for United Ways around the country, including United Way worldwide. And I met during that time incredible people and continue to meet incredible people through this just amazing network. And TD is one of those folks that I worked with what feels like 100 years ago. TD, I don't know. I hate to say that, but TD and I actually first met when we were both working for the Red Cross, and then TD went to work for United Way after that, actually. So our connection was not through United Way, but here we are on a United Way Next call and connecting again. And connection is one of the things we do best here at United Way Next. And so I am delighted to be here to introduce TD for today's session. So TD, I know everybody's here to hear from you, and so I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce yourself. So thank
Thank you, Ann. I appreciate it. And congratulations on the chair. It is really cool to see you again after all this time. And like Ann said, it feels like 100 years. It's not 100 years, but there's definitely been 100 years worth of cool stuff happened between then and now. So I am honored to be here. And I want to thank Carol and Ivy too for their support in setting this up. I wear three hats in my relationship with UW Next. I'm a member as a former United Way executive. I was privileged to lead United Way of Tarrant County in the western part of the DFW Metroplex. We'll talk about that a little more as we get into today. And also, I now operate as an executive coach, and my executive coaching company, A Bold Leader, is part of the consultant consortium, the consultant collab for United Way Next. And then also, I'm a sponsor with BoardBuild. So I get to talk to all of these awesome people all the time about different things. Today, though, it's about boards. So you probably saw how it was all set up, and so I want to jump into that real quick. We'll talk about boards. Today, I'm going to introduce you to, we're going to talk through difficulties with boards and maybe some ways to get through that. And then I'm going to introduce you to BoardBuild, which is a platform that you can use for a number of things. Now, we'll tell you what BoardBuild represents for each of you as you think through how you might be listening to the things I'm going to say. BoardBuild can represent a training and certification opportunity for your boards, for your prospective board members, or even for the organizations you work with for their boards. It's designed to enhance governance by helping nonprofits get the right board members and certifying those board members so they know what they're getting into and how to function. So it can be a training and certification opportunity. It is also a board matching opportunity. Like most platforms, this is like think LinkedIn meets Match.com, right? It's got an opportunity for people to join, but it also needs places for them to go. Any nonprofit in the world can go to boardbuild.org right now and register open board positions free of charge. What's even better is as soon as they register an open board position, as soon as they post it, they have access to literally thousands of diverse certified candidates that they can search by the criteria they're looking for, whether they're looking to diversify their board in certain ways, whether they're looking to grow into a new market, whether they've got a governance opening and they want an attorney, all of that can be searched on platform. So that's a little bit of an intro. And then finally, the third way that United Way organizations may be interested in BoardBuild is as a revenue stream, because we are looking for regional partners in most of the states in the United States, and regional partners keep the lion's share of all the revenue that's generated. And we'll talk a little bit about how revenue is generated as we get through it. So any questions for me before we jump into it? Okay, let's do that. Let's jump into it. I'm going to share my screen. Bada boom. All right. Give me a thumbs up, Ivy. Everybody seeing BoardBuild? Yes, this is who we are, BoardBuild. BoardBuild, the name BoardBuild was actually the brainchild of my CFO when we were at United Way of Tarrant County, who's my CFO again at BoardBuild. Jeff Allison, Board Development Systems is the company. BoardBuild is a DBA. Okay. So this whole thing was labeled, I'm losing board members and it's wonderful, which has probably got a lot of people's attention. It's like, what's wonderful about losing board members? And I'm going to convince you, I hope, that everything is if you're losing them when you want to, and you should want to, because board turnover and bringing in fresh ideas and modernizing your board is a process that's got to be approached intentionally or it doesn't happen, right? We've all experienced it where some boards haven't had term limits and you've got founders still on the board and people that should have rolled off even decades ago that are still on the board. So we'll look at some of those situations and then we'll talk about how BoardBuild could be a source of help with that. Ivy, I'm going to rely on you because I'm looking at my presentation screen to interrupt me if somebody has a question or wants to bring something urgent up. Okay. Okay. So boards should be dynamic. I kind of touched on that a minute ago, especially today. I mean, you could have made an argument against this maybe 15, 20 years ago, but today, at the rate that society and technology are changing our realities, boards have got to be dynamic. You've got to be bringing in people with that new understanding and those new connections into those new industries and markets. So you need to have that diversification. Boards should evolve. A static board it means a static strategy. And so in bringing your new board members and new ideas in helps advance you to fit this new reality. So some proven practices I think that we all know about are term limits, right? Term limits are a great way to keep things fresh. And you can, if you have a favorite board member who's just the bomb, roll them off for a year and then put them back on if you want to, right? There are ways to do this. Open source recruiting. One of the coolest things that aligns with the model I'm going to introduce you today is an article that came out at the beginning of the year through the Stanford Social Innovation Review, or the SSIR, where they talk about the need today for open source board recruiting, how recruiting for boards relying on old board members or even relying on the chief executive's um, sphere of influence are bringing us nowhere. And I've experienced this personally, like I'm sure a lot of you have as well. Board matrices, if you don't already have one for your board or organizations that you support don't have them, it's another best practice. Build a matrix with the crucial skills and representation you need on your board. And then when somebody's about to roll off, you're better informed about who to recruit to replace them. So board matrices are another one. The final one is the real interesting piece here, intentional diversification. When I rolled onto my board at United Way of Tarrant County, I found a board full of old white male bankers who lived and worked in Fort Worth, Texas. And I say it that way because well, first of all, it was pretty darn accurate. And also, it represents the five areas my board was not representative of who I needed them to be. They weren't representative in race and ethnicity, in age, in sex or gender, in geography, or in industry. I mean, I'm in Fort Worth, Texas. I have this enormous defense industry, and I had no board members from that industry on my board. So I needed to diversify. And I didn't start out to create a platform. BoardBuild was created at United Way of Tarrant County. It's born of the United Way network. But we didn't start out that way. We started out just to try to find it. And so we looked all over the country for a platform that would help us do it. And we thought we found it in Louisville, Kentucky, an organization called the Center for Nonprofit Management. And we flew a guy in named Greg Nielsen, who was the CEO out there at the time. He had this website, part of his website that was called Board Match. We thought we can take this and use it. Well, it turns out to not be scalable or transportable. If you're not in Louisville, Kentucky, it doesn't work. So we said, okay, that's not going to be what we need. So we thought if we need a tool to help us diversify intentionally, so will others. And that's what led us to create BoardBuild, the platform that does both of those things. Cool. All right. I'm going to continue to move on. So today, as we walk through this, we're going to discuss BoardBuild and United Way, the relationship, a little bit about the BoardBuild platform, certification, matching, and the platform itself, board engagement, some testimonials, and then really the bulk of this is going to be Q&A because I do ultimately want to shut up and listen to your questions and do my best to answer those. Fair enough? Shall we continue? All right. Oh, by the way, that's our tagline on the bottom. It's new, building nonprofit board excellence. That's what we are all about. Okay, so this is the journey. This is me and a lot of my colleagues at United Way of Tarrant County in some different roles. So we did create this from that environment. I will tell you this, it was a huge success. When we first started utilizing BoardBuild, we found we could intentionally, and we did intentionally diversify our board. Moreover, because the platform has a training and certification element, everybody who's eligible for matching has had to have completed BoardBuild Essentials, which is our on-demand interactive video series, by the way, presented by improv comedians. So if you're rolling your eyes now going, oh, board training, oh, I hate it. I hated it too until we did it differently. And we partnered with 4 Day Weekend, an improv comedy troupe, and came in and they created this incredible course, Essentials of Nonprofit Governance. So this is some of the team that helped put that together. If you look at that top picture there, the top picture in the middle, you see a gentleman in the back with a white shirt. That is Jeff Allison, our CFO, who came up with all that stuff. And then you'll see right across the table from Jeff in a maroon top is Leah King, my much more talented and smart successor at United Way of Tarrant County. She's gone off to JPS Foundation now, and Adam Powell is currently the CEO there. He just completed his first year. Cool. Okay, there's our vision and mission. Our strategic planning committee has just updated these. So we're on a mission to elevate governance performance across the nonprofit sector nationwide. And our vision is a nonprofit sector where great boards drive great outcomes. We really do function at this understanding that leadership changes everything and the quality of leadership guides everything else. So if we can get this right, if we can get the leadership and specifically the governance leadership right, then we can get organizations better funded and executing those funded dollars better toward their accomplishment of their mission. That's what it is all about. Now, we do have a reach now. We have a nationwide network of regional partners. 4 of these regional partners are major market United Ways. Here in North Texas, it's United Way of Tarrant County. In Illinois, it's United Way of Metro Chicago. In Louisiana, it's United Way of Southeast Louisiana in New Orleans. And in Georgia, it's United Way of Greater Atlanta. We are looking for regional partnerships in all of these other states, the grays and the light blues, to become regional partners. The benefit of a regional partnership is you bring BoardBuild to that state and represent its capabilities. You're the ones that bring that capability to the state, and you keep 60% of the revenue that's generated by sale of the seats. So it's got incentive to create a new earned income revenue stream for your United Way. So we think that's a pretty cool thing. This is the Thriving United Way framework, which will show you why else we think it's a really cool thing for United Ways to utilize us. All of the little dancing red circles are going around areas that are directly enhanced by BoardBuild's membership, including, of course, the diversified income stream we just talked about. So we're a really good fit for where United Way has been. We're a better fit for where United Way is, and we're the best fit for where United Way is going in terms of partnerships. And there'll be some time to ask about what that looks like at the end. Cool. Let's talk a little bit about this thing. So this is one for you all to answer in the chat, or if you want to come off of your mic and talk. But what is the toughest challenge you face today with your board? And I'll expand the question a little bit to say if you've worked with an organization that has had a problem with their board, feel free to share that as well. Again, either in the chat or verbally if you want. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the chat so I can see what's going on too.
So TD, this is Ann.
Hi, Ann.
I'll step in. And I'm stepping in now, not with my United Way Next hat on, but for a small board that I am a part of here in my local community. And we have, I'm embarrassed to say, we do not specifically have term limits. And one of the, I would say, biggest challenges to really encouraging term limits is that we have a very we have a lack of a pool of qualified board members
Mhm.
that are willing to step up, partially because it's a circular thing, right? I don't want to get on a board that I don't have an out for.
Mhm.
And so I guess that would be one question, like knowing that this is a best practice that we really need to do, term limits, how would you advise in a situation like this?
It's a great question, Ann, because I mean, in a lot of communities, and I know there are different size United Ways on here, but even in Fort Worth, Texas, which is the hub of Tarrant County where my United Way served, that's the 10th largest city in America right now. But even in that community, you have the same 20 people that everybody pursues to be on their board. And so, I discovered that, by the way, though I told my development team to help me go out and do it. So I had a pretty good network. I was a Navy flyer before my role in nonprofits. So I was a base commander here. I had great, connectivity in the community. And I would reach out and bring these people in, and my development team was bringing these people in, and we get some of the main players. The worst thing happened that could have ever happened to me. I was successful because I got them, and then they were still in love with the other nonprofits they had come from. That's where their lived experience and their passion brought them. I just talked them into being on the United Way board, or my board talked them into being on the United Way board, but they didn't bring their full self. There was a comment made earlier about some board members are just sitting there kind of occupying a seat. Yes, that you need to move them on, and we can talk maybe in the Q&A about ways to do that. I have found that board on board engagements are better than staff to board engagements in telling people they're not performing or they're not participating like they need to be. And get them moving on. Well, make it amicable. It's obvious. I've done this myself. It's obvious this isn't working for you and your time and your priorities. So let's look at moving you off and maybe looking at something else you can do. I'm happy to reach out with other organizations that you might be a fit for. The benefit for me was bringing in somebody who was fired up for the mission and had experience in what we did. And they were a volunteer, and now they were just going to bat for us every day. So that's what you want on your board. And we created this platform to do that. So, Ann, that's addressing the first part of your question. I'm going to move through these slides to address the rest of them as I take a look at some of the comments we've got on there. Same, yeah, good, good. Unfortunately, some of our local companies want a presence on our board. Oh, transactional board seats. Hate them, right? But nobody, and I love this too. Like Bell Helicopter had a seat on our board. And we always told Bell, "Oh, it's subject to our approval." Yeah, but okay, the number of nonprofits who have turned down a major corporate contributor's board member are exactly zero. No decimal points, zero. So, we have these transactional seats, and then whether that person is invested in our mission is a crapshoot. More often than not, they were there because they were told to be there, and so they're not. So that's a great point. So we're going to go over a couple things now that'll help with that. This is great. I'm glad we did that. Okay, I'm going to skip this part right now. We'll go back to that. I want to show you this because these are the differentiators of BoardBuild, and these are why this platform works. Okay, when we scaled it back, we started to say, okay, how are we really helping grow good governance? How are we helping organizations intentionally grow good governance? Well, we discovered what we call the pool, our first of two differentiators. The pool is illustrated here in this diagram. The pool of diverse qualified candidates is this big. Now, if you could take this to scale, it would probably be as big as the room you're in, where your network as the chief executive and your board's network are pretty much the size they are, equally small, touching a small percentage of the people that could be on your board. Why? Because they don't golf with them, they don't work with them, they don't live in their same community, they don't overlap in lives. So they don't even know they exist oftentimes. So even though you tell your board, go out and help us diversify, they can't. They can do it to some extent, but they can't reach outside of their sphere of influence, especially to convince somebody to join a nonprofit board with all that that entails. Likewise, you may have a huge footprint in your community, but there are so many people in your community you don't know, can't reach, or you don't have a trust relationship to bring them on the board. The beauty of BoardBuild is it equalizes everybody. You are certified by taking Board Essentials and you are eligible on the platform. Any organization can find you as much as they can find anybody else on that platform. So it is incredibly inclusive and allows you to intentionally diversify, reaching the entire pool of available candidates on that platform, not just the ones you know, right? So the pool is the first big differentiator. The next differentiator we have is we call the magic. The magic is the magic of the mutual search. So we were just talking about transactional board members that come in from BNSF or Bell or Starbucks or any organization, right? They're there because it's kind of their turn, or they're looking at it as maybe a wicket, or organization supports the community, so we have to have somebody on that board. On this platform, the members who are there are on there because they want to join a nonprofit board that's got a mission aligned with their lived experience. And the nonprofits are posting because they need to find somebody that's going to support and advocate their mission. So it's the magic of the mutual search. You don't have to worry about there being a match. The match is made. And by the way, this is not like a job board where you have to sit there and wait for people to apply. This is like Match.com. You're going down there looking for a match. The individuals are looking for a match, and the program algorithm is sending both parties recommended matches based on what the profiles are filled out on the individual side and what's posted on the organizational side. So there's a lot of good juju going on in the platform that connects people, and we call that the magic. Does that make sense? The pool and the magic? Does that help kind of see how this platform can be a real huge tool to help you reach outside of your spheres of influence, your social circles, and that of your board to reach the whole pool of prospective candidates? Cool. Okay. So that's a little bit about the platform. I'm going to move back if I can. Let me see if I can move back. I can, yeah, to the platform itself. So BoardBuild has two courses on it. It's got a learning management system or LMS built into the platform. The first one that we've mainly been talking about is the essentials of nonprofit governance. This covers all the basics, and we get huge reviews on this from everybody that goes through it. Things like, I felt like I was contributing from day one. I showed up in my first board meeting and I felt comfortable. I knew the language of what was going on. We've even had executive directors say the people that came that I got through BoardBuild, they've started contributing already and they didn't need, a year to kind of get their feet under them. So the course is a great course and it's going to be available to you really, really cheap at the end of this presentation if you want to do it. I required all of my board to take it when I was at United Way of Tarrant County, and then we filled the board with people from the platform. So the board was kind of singing from the same hymnal, if you will. Okay. The other course is an optional course. It is not required, but we use the same team of curriculum developers and the same team of improv comedians to put together Governance with Equity, DEI for nonprofit boards. I actually thought the last 2 years that this would decline in usage because of the federal government's move away from DEI programs. The opposite has happened. 2025 was our biggest year ever, and 2026 is already on track to beat 2025 in enrollments in governance with equity. The courses can be bundled too for an even greater savings. But Essentials is required to be matched. Governance with equity is optional. Cool. Okay. Let's keep moving then. So what happens then? Well, the platform takes all of these certified people and all of these board positions that are posted free of charge and recommends matches. It makes matches between them. The algorithm will send emails proactively to the individual and to the organization saying, hey, there's some new people on the platform that look like they might be a match. Or, hey, some new posts were made that look like they meet your desire to join a veteran support organization or an animal rights group, whatever you put in the platform that you want to join. So that helps you connect with those. We protect the PII of individuals. Like if you're an organization posting on here, you don't put your email on there, you just post the position and the connection is made on platform. So if you decide you want to meet that person, then you decide to take it off that platform and provide your contact information. But the first introduction is done on platform to protect that and keep you from getting unsolicited emails and stuff. Okay, so once it's The kind of flow of somebody that's using BoardBuild is as follows. You sign up for the training. It's online. It's free to register. It's not free to purchase the training, but it's free to open an account on BoardBuild. You complete certification training at your own pace. When you finish, you get a nice certificate, PDF. You get a little badge to download to your LinkedIn profile, and you get 2.6 CEUs of continuing ed credit through our partnership with the University of Texas at Arlington. That's good nationwide. So both courses have that CEU benefit. Then you complete your member profile. Ivy, I might want to, when we get through this, I'll actually pull it up so you can see what a profile looks like. It's just like seeing your social media. It's got a, profile pic and a header pic, and then you fill out your profile like you would on any other kind of social media. You review your nonprofit matches and apply to positions that interest you so you can proactively apply like you do on a job board. But also, the nonprofit reviews their matches and positions and can even go and search for candidates. So they're doing the search as well. Then, when a match is made, when an organization reaches out to an applicant or finds somebody on the platform they like, they'll send you a note that says, "Hey, let's take this off platform and let's talk about this." And then you accept the offer and begin to serve. This process can take as little as a week, or it can take as much as months, depending on the board rotation of the organizations that post. Posts on BoardBuild for open board positions expire after 4 months. That's a way we keep those fresh so that you don't get on there and see a board position that closed in 2023, right? They expire in 4 months. If an organization still has a board opening or they have an evergreen board position, then they'll just relist at the end of that 4 months. They can do that with a single click of a button. It's very easy. These are a few of just a couple of the testimonials we've gotten. They love the fact that this is this is self-paced. Individuals can take it at their own rate. It's designed to be about 4 hours of screen time to complete all 6 modules, but it's built to level set a board's understanding of their role, which means if you've got people on your board that have been doing this for 20 years, they can go in and maybe they go down to the financial management module and they'll just take the quiz in advance and validate it. You could even validate every quiz and take the final quiz and be done. The world record is 38 minutes. A guy did this when I was presenting on BoardBuild. While I was talking, he signed on with his laptop, went in and took all the quizzes because he was a career nonprofit guy, and took the class in 38 minutes. So it's there, whatever the needs of the individual are. Okay. Now, if you all decide you want to try this course out, there is a code on the platform that you're given on platform for nonprofits. You get 50+% off. The normal retail rate for the course is $300, but you would get it for $149. Now, because you're on this call or looking at it on the recorded version, you get this code BB for me 50 for an additional $50 off, which puts the course at $99. Even if you don't use this, there is a code also that United Way Next has, UW Next 10, which always gives you 10% off. So you can always use that. But because you're on this call, you can use this to get it even cheaper through the end of September. Okay. You can also use that same code, by the way, for governance with equity if you want to use that, purchase that course. So in the chat, from the things I've talked about today or the things that we've shared with each other, what's one takeaway you'll apply immediately to your own board? I'll watch the chat or I'll listen for y'all. One takeaway today, it could be board matrices, it could be board limits, it could be, wow, I'm going to sign on to BoardBuild and see what kind of candidates I've got. Because you're United Ways, it might be the organizations I support with grants, I think they should have to do this because then they're going to spend the money I give them smarter, right? So it could be any of those things. Okay. Who put that? Okay, Ivy, I'm seeing your questions you're putting up there.
And we can save those. You don't have to worry about getting to them right away. I just wanted to compile some
Gotcha.
questions and comments that people have brought on and some that I've heard in the network. But to answer your question, what is one takeaway you will apply immediately to your own board? I
Mhm.
know that I won't do it for the United Way Next board, but something that I would consider as an individual is um, taking the courses and like starting to look at the open positions that are in the platform.
Yeah, it's funny, when we first started this back in 2018, 2019, there were about 30 open positions on the platform. Now, at any given day you log on, there's around 200. And obviously, that's a dynamic number as new ones are posted every day and ones are filled. So it moves around and it kind of ebbs and flows, but we're kind of in board season right now. So it's burgeoning right now. But ideally, this is the marketplace for board members. And every nonprofit would go and post here, especially since there's zero charge associated with that. It's free. So,
I also think a huge thing that I loved hearing too, that I don't think I knew up until this point, is that you keep the first introduction on the platform, and so there's no exchanging of PPI or PII, depending personally identifying information. And so that was really important to me. I get way too many emails all of
yeah.
the time. So that was something that I loved hearing. And I would say if you have the capabilities and wouldn't be sharing anyone's PPI or anything you shouldn't on the screen, that like doing a walkthrough of the platform, I would highly recommend it, welcome it. I think individuals in the network would like to see kind of what it looks like as a United Way to maybe go in or as a potential board member.
Okay. Let me see right now. Well, there's me. There's my happy smiling face. I'm going to open up BoardBuild right now. So if you go to boardbuild.org, let me share. I guess I should share my screen. I'm sitting here going, hey, if you go to here, you'll see this. Okay. Is everybody seeing my screen now? BoardBuild? Okay. If you go to boardbuild.org right now, you won't see this left side menu that comes up when you're logged on. But once you open your account and you're there, you'll see this left-hand menu. The way BoardBuild works is the top menu is kind of where the journey starts. That's where you can go to look at the courses and see what those are. If you're a nonprofit, you can click here and go to the nonprofits to post your position on that white button. You can even look at the pricing of the courses, either as a bundle or individual. Let's go to essentials just to kind of check that out. This is where the journey begins. You can purchase for an individual or a group. If you purchase for a group, you'll automatically be the group leader and you'll be able to track people's progress through the platform. I'll show you some examples of that, which is kind of cool. And remember, as you go through the process and you get toward the cart checkout, you'll be given a code. If you're a nonprofit, use this code, and that drops this drastically to more than 50% off per seat. Cool. And then you can create these groups. Once you create a group in the platform, you get this team dashboard that's available in the bottom. I'm able to see all of them because I'm on here obviously as an admin, but you can see some of our groups that are on the platform now that are using it. And so there's a bunch of them. Let's go to one of my big ones here. Junior League of Dallas is a huge user for us. If you're considering moving into the regional partnership and making this a revenue stream for your United Way, junior leagues and leadership organizations are two of our biggest customers because this is such a perfect fit for their mission and they're looking for new curricula. So this winds up being a really great fit for them. A lot of our leadership organizations even have at their commencements at the end, they'll have a bifold, and on one side will be their certificate of completion of leadership program, on the left side will be their BoardBuild certificate. So you can see that if you're a team leader, you have access to track everybody's progress through the platform. You can go to report, select the course, and you can see how everybody's completion rate is in that course. This cohort hasn't started yet, so you won't have them showing any progress, but this progress bar would light up when they go through, and you can download people's certificates for completion of the platform, all that kind of stuff right here from this. So now positions, let's say you've taken essentials like I have. So here's my homepage on BoardBuild. That's me. This is actually the boat my wife and I lived on for 3 years. She took this picture. That's me on the paddleboard on the back. But this is what it looks like. And it's got my profile. I can go modify that, my about me, I can add it. We encourage all the users to be as open as they will about their identity because a lot of organizations use that to search. You can search by disability status, you can search by LGBTQ membership, any of that stuff. It's all available on the platform. Your courses are accessible through your homepage as well. You can go down and resume courses or complete them or download your BoardBuild certified badge. One of the neat things is this too, this little toggle. I'm in the match system right now, but let's say I've just joined a board and I don't want any other boards contacting me. I just toggle that off and boom, you're not in the match system anymore. So it's very controllable by the user. So it's pretty easy to do. And then now I'm saying, I'm going to go find myself a position. Let's go see what's available. I can go look at all the positions or just the ones that the program recommends that matches for me, or I can go to ones I've previously bookmarked. But for the purposes of right now, let's look at all the positions. Here's a bunch of great ones: Spokane, Washington, Houston, Chicago, Dallas, Texas, Los Angeles. Big in Chicago market, obviously, and in North Texas because that's where we grew up, also Atlanta. But we're everywhere. Charlottesville, Virginia. There's a lot of remote positions. A lot of national nonprofits love BoardBuild because if, say, you're headquartered in Minneapolis, but you want people on your board from the San Francisco market and the Miami market, how do you find them? Well, on BoardBuild, right? So a lot of them love us. Knoxville, Tennessee, we're strong in there too. So you can see lots of great positions. You can search these, or you can browse them like I was just doing, or you can go up to the top and you can actually search them. You can enter any keywords. You can search them by location. You can search specific interests or causes, or you can even go down and see what they're about. Let's say they're looking for somebody who's a marketing guru. I'm a marketing guru. Let me see who's looking for one. I'll click that on it. Oh, they're looking for somebody who's a human resources executive. I am. I'll click that. And then you'll be able to see all the positions that are looking for those kind of professionals below. So the search criteria are pretty robust on the platform. Cool. Now let's say you're posting a position. You get this position dashboard and you can go in now and you can review your applicants. Now, my positions I've just filled, so they're not active anymore. But I use BoardBuild as a nonprofit, and we use this platform as well. So you can see if you've got an applicant, you can go click on them. You can evaluate that applicant on a scale from 1 to 5. How good of a fit are they? We actually brought Amanda on board. She's a real candidate for this position. And so we brought her on through the platform. So that's a little bit. I don't want to dig too much into it, but that's a little bit of an introduction to the platform. I wanted to show that to you. So with that, let's field some more questions. And I've got yours to fall back on, Ivy. Let's see if anybody else has questions about board stuff at all, boards. Um, you're talking to somebody who has a ridiculous amount of hard experience with boards. I've done it well and I've done it not so well. I've had board members who I just am still friends with to this day, and I have other ones who probably have warrants out for my arrest. So, any questions are valid questions.
And before we get into Q&A real quick, I did just want to point out that if anyone does have to hop off early and you've got like another meeting at the top of the hour, feel free to drop in your questions in the chat and we will try to answer them in the recording. And I will make sure that everything that I shared in the chat, I will also link to in the follow-up email for you guys. Plus, we do want to just highlight our sponsors again: Mutual of America, Front Stream, Third Sector Company, BoardBuild, UPick Solutions, and Give Pulse. I will, of course, also include TD's contact information in the follow-up email as well. Plus, if you guys don't mind, there is a 3-question survey at the end of the call when you hop out of Zoom, and that just really helps us right now. We are in the RFP season. If you guys are interested in speaking next year for United Way Next, we are always taking ideas, comments, feedback, anything. We want to make sure these are the best events possible for you guys. And we want to continue bringing resources like BoardBuild to you. As somebody that has been a board member and as somebody that has obviously worked for nonprofits. I know how hard it is to find good board members. You're always questioning if you're being a good enough board member or volunteer. And so this is something that I wish that I had known about when I worked at other nonprofits and when I was becoming a board member for the first time for myself. So I just also wanted to highlight that this is both a free and a paid resource for nonprofit professionals. So, as TD mentioned, you guys are able to make posts if you're looking for board members for free. You are able to go through and do the matching system like he showed. It can also be beneficial if you guys are looking to train your board, if you're trying to become a board member. And TD also mentioned, I know that it is quite in the alignment with the Thriving United Way framework that is pretty big and being assessed right now throughout the network, that diversifying your revenue streams is so, so, so important. So that is also an option that you guys are able to do through BoardBuild as well. So if you're always looking, especially in the current climate with grants and just money being spread out the way that it is. If you're looking for another option to diversify your income streams through your United Way or your nonprofit, this is also a possibility. So I will open up the floor to all of your guys' questions. Other than that, we do have lots of events coming up. As we mentioned, and TD mentioned, he is part of our consultant collaborative. We've got a new and prospective member orientation on September 10th. There is a nonprofit hiring and the current marketing event coming up on the 17th. And then, of course, United Way's Civic Superpower on the 23rd. But other than that, I will open up the floor to all of your questions, comments, ask everything that you guys have.
I'm going to ask a question that I was going to put in the chat, but I'll do it. And I'm going to do this on behalf of all my United Way colleagues in the network, but all the people who have ever worked with boards. And this, I'm really going back to my time at United Way of Greater McHenry County when I was a newer CEO. And I felt at times that the board was too far in the weeds. And I think part of it stems from I was a new CEO. I hadn't worked for a nonprofit, so they maybe felt they needed to do more hand holding. TD, what kind of advice do you have for people who might be leading a nonprofit? They're in their first 3 years of that leadership role and they're feeling they're getting too much hand holding.
Yeah. Well, some of that can be addressed. And by the way, I've seen it a lot. I've had boards attempt to do that with me. I've had, and this is another benefit of kind of being a seasoned executive, right? You can push back on that. You know how to do that. You can deal with it in different ways. But some of the things I've seen happen involve organizations that used to be small and now they've grown. I worked with one organization that started out with a working board, right? I mean, their treasurer was the de facto CFO, and so everybody was very engaged. But as they grew and they brought in staff, I mean, at the point that I started working with them, they had a staff of 300 people, but they still had the board operating as a management board. So an intentional evolution time frame works really well. If you can get your governance committee or your strategic planning committee to intentionally change your board as the organization grows and evolves, your board should evolve with the organization from a management or working board to a more governance, strategic, and policy focused board. But that's got to be intentional. If it's not, the board will seldom do that themselves. And sometimes when you get to the point where it's just happening and you need to take action to level set them. The board is all in your Wheaties, in your cornflakes. You're trying to get stuff done. One specific example of that was so funny recently is I was actually facilitating a board retreat for a group, and I was asking all the board members what they do. And when I got to the board treasurer, he says, "I construct, approve, and oversee execution of the budget." I said, you oversee execution of the budget? He goes, I do. I said, okay. We went around the room. We got around to the chief executive, and I said, okay, the CEO, what do you all hold him accountable for? And the board chair said, well, he's accountable for executing the budget. I said, no, he's not. That guy is the treasurer. He said he was. And that created this. I mean, it's kind of neat being a facilitator from the outside because I wasn't fearing for my job, but the CEO was going, oh, I can't believe you said that. And I'm going, well, I mean, you all just said it. I didn't say it, you said it. But the point is, as a board, you can't hold the chief executive accountable for things you're doing. That doesn't make any sense. So having somebody come in from the outside is helpful to help a board reset its understanding of the role and see that they need to evolve. This is the greatest superpower I think any chief executive can apply to board communications. It's a simple observation. Board to board communication is a lot stronger than staff to board communication. So if you've got people on the board that understand their role, they understand what they're supposed to do, um, they understand they're supposed to be governance and policy focused and not in management. You've got those people on the board, and bringing them into that conversation so that they hear it from another board member is a lot different than getting a lecture from the chief executive whose evaluation they write. So highly recommend leveraging your board members to help you with those communications when that happens, but also structuring your orientation so that it's very clear what the role of the board is. The final thing I'll say about that is board members get bored. Board, BOARD, get BORED. So if you don't keep them focused in policy and strategy, they will naturally start gravitating toward operations and tactics. So it becomes really a differentiator on an effective chief executive if they're working with the board to keep them focused strategically and at the bigger scale from the 30,000 foot level. Other thoughts, questions? Anybody think differently? I'll take that. I hear that plenty.
I dropped something in the chat. I we recently did a session called Developing Your Board for Fundraising Success. And while you were talking about like the evolution of board making sure that they're moving from one to the other and that they're actually like playing their parts, I could visually see a slide from that other session. So I did link to it. And I think what you said about leveraging the board members to have certain conversations versus staff members is so, so important.
And some of the, I mean, I've experienced this personally. Sometimes you get a toxic board member. I mean, I had a board chair that thought he should be the CEO instead of me, and he rolled in on me. He wanted to kind of steamroll his specific initiative to be in the strategic plan. The strategic planning committee had created a strategic plan. They had forwarded it to the executive committee. My board operated on a strong executive committee structure where if a committee was bringing something to the board at large for a vote, they first had to run it through the executive committee. And so this board chair kept stopping it at executive committee, said it's not ready for prime time. Well, it's because it didn't include his initiative. And so, somebody had to do something. So, I worked with the strategic planning committee chair, and I said, listen, I think we should offer this up to the rest of the executive committee. And if the vote says that it moves to a general vote, the vote of the executive committee indicates this should move to an approval by the general board, then it does. And if he doesn't like it, he'll just make his decision about what he wants to do. Told the board chair we were going to do this. And he said, if that goes to a vote, I will resign. I said, okay, got to do what you got to do. And so we did it with compliance of the rest of the executive committee and the strategic planning chair. And it went to a vote and it was approved overwhelmingly. I had a 42-person board. It's a very large board. It got approved. There were like 3 votes against it. One of them was guess who. So there are going to be times when you're going to be tested with that, but just remember to you're not the Lone Ranger. You're not having to go at it by yourself. You have other people on the board who see and understand their role, and they can accompany you on that journey. So I'm gonna write a book about this stuff one of these days. It's gonna be board horror stories.
One of the questions that you brought up for me, because I know obviously you've given tremendous levels of discounts for our audience, and you also allow coupon stacking as well. But for some of the smaller United Ways or some of the nonprofits that might be listening to this call and learning about BoardBuild for the first time, are there opportunities or recommendations? I know you recommended grants earlier for if they wanted their team or their board to participate in some of the courses. Do you have any ideas on, I think earlier you even mentioned some organizations with like
Yeah.
unlimited seats and things like that?
That's a brilliant point. So there is a package. It's an unlimited for 1 year package that we sell to corporations and to large organizations like junior leagues and leadership organizations that have not only a current cohort but also an alumni base that they want to offer this up to. So we do those. It's a $7,500 fee, but they get unlimited seats for 1 year. So you can do the math on that. If you put in 75 seats or more, you're already getting this at the discount we're offering now, right? So that's a pretty easy way to do it. But if you're a smaller nonprofit, I've actually seen this done two ways. Uh, Board build funding winds up being a favorite of foundations that have certain goals. Like, for example, we had a foundation fund 120 seats in board build for grassroots nonprofits that were just getting started because they wanted them to have a good chance of success. So they said, let's fund board build for their boards. So they did that. We had several other foundations that wanted to advance DEIB initiatives. And so they funded us for 100 seats for leaders of color. And so those were opportunities that were funded. So foundations have their goals that can often be met through a board build partnership. So they love it. And then finally, smaller organizations have had good success by, if they don't have the budget to pay even $100 for each of their board members, they approach the board members and consider it part of their financial responsibility giving. So they'll say, you put yourself through this board training as part of your contribution to the organization. So there's a number of ways to see it and afford it. And to your point, Ivy, we do you can stack coupons, but you can only stack two. So the one that gives you the most off is the one that's provided in the checkout, which is for all nonprofits. I think it's board ready, or if you're, but it's, I mean, it's given to you, so you have to remember it. But it's board ready times two, I think, for the bundle. But you can use those, and then you can use this BB for me 50 to get $50 off, and then obviously also there's the UW Next 10, which is all evergreen. It's always there for 10 more percent off. So. And it's 10% off the retail. So that winds up being $30 off. The other one's $50 off. So it's only a $20 difference.
And one of the options that you had included was sometimes foundations partner with you guys to offer those seats. Is there somewhere that you share those opportunities? Is it like a newsletter, something that United Ways and nonprofits could sign up for, or just kind of happens
We,
behind the scenes?
it happens through the regional partnerships. So
Got it.
remember, we exist in a state like Georgia because of our partnership with United Way of Greater Atlanta. And so they will represent those opportunities and they'll actually find those opportunities because they're the ones managing the relationship. We exist as a resource provider supporting those partners. And that's the regional partnership is built on two concepts. One is joint marketing, the other is revenue sharing. And so we really do operate as a kind of a supporting organization in the regional partnership states. Cool. Last round. You only have 3 minutes left to toss a question out, and then I'm out of time. You all have my phone number. I know that Ivy is providing it. It was also on the screen. That is this phone. It's the only phone I have. So if you call it, I'm going to answer it if I can. So please let me know if you have any questions or if you're interested in hearing more about anything I've talked about. It's been my pleasure.
Well, this was great, TD. Thank you so much for your time today. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to you to let you bring us home. And just a quick reminder to everyone as you're logging off today, there is a survey and we ask that you do take it. It's only 3 seconds probably to complete the 3 questions. It's helpful to us to have that information. So Anne, I'll take it away.
Thank you. Thanks to all of you who joined us today and who will be joining us via the recording. And TD, thank you for a very informative session today on a very important topic for those of us who work and volunteer in the nonprofit sector. And thanks for all you're doing to build BoardBuild and make it available to people across the country. It's really great, and it's been great to spend an afternoon with you. Lo these, I don't know, 13 years later. So
Yeah, yeah.
is really great. And again, thanks everybody, and hope that you take this information and run with it. So thanks very much.
Have
Take
a
care,
great week.
everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone that attended. Thank you to everyone that is watching the recording. Thank you, TD and BoardBuild and Ann Fox and Carol and everyone that helps put on these great events, including our event programming sponsors, and that's BoardBuild, Mutual of America, Give Pulse, all of the organizations, Third Sector Company, UPIC Solutions, Front Stream, everyone that is helping support United Way Next, including our members.
Thank you,
Bye.
Ivy. Have a great day, everybody.